I used to believe I'd hit the jackpot. My husband was everything a woman could want. Loyal, patient, attentive. He never forgot a birthday, never raised his voice, and somehow always knew when I needed him without me saying a word. He cooked better than I did, ironed his own shirts, and texted me every morning with some cheesy little message like, "Hope today makes you smile." It used to sound corny, but I smiled anyway. Everyone said I was lucky. My friends would constantly comment, "Does he have a brother?" And I'd just laugh, knowing I didn't deserve him as much as I acted like I did. We met through mutual friends, and from the start he was just solid. No games, no confusion. He told me he loved me after 3 months, and when he said it, it felt like something permanent. We got married 2 years later, and it was the easiest decision I ever made. I genuinely thought that this was it. Our love story written, wrapped, and sealed. No secrets, no cracks. He did all the little things people say don't matter but secretly dream about. When I had cramps, he'd bring me a heating pad and sit beside me in silence. When I got bad news from work, he didn't try to fix it. He just listened. He made me feel safe, seen, and genuinely adored. That kind of quiet consistency is rare. People glamorize grand gestures, but he gave me the kind of love that felt like air. Unseen but constant. We had a routine, a rhythm. Sunday mornings were for pancakes and jazz. Weeknights meant cooking together with a glass of wine and messy counters. He'd ask about my day like it actually mattered. I used to look at him and feel this heavy kind of gratitude. Not butterflies, something deeper, more grounded. There were moments I caught him watching me when I wasn't looking. Not in a creepy way, just tender. Like he couldn't believe I was real. I remember one time I asked him why he looked at me like that, and he said, "Because I still can't believe I get to love you." I used to tell my best friend, "He's too good to be true," and she'd joke, "Then don't screw it up." And I didn't plan to. I never woke up thinking I'd be the villain. But life doesn't need an excuse to test you. Sometimes the mistake starts with a thought, a small crack that widens every time you ignore your conscience. I thought I was immune. I thought loving someone like him was enough to keep me faithful, loyal, grounded. But love isn't a shield against weakness. And no matter how good someone is to you, if you're not honest with yourself, you can still destroy them. He didn't deserve what happened next. He didn't see it coming. And the worst part, neither did I. It started so quietly, I didn't even notice the shift. He got promoted, finally. More meetings, more pressure, more late nights. First I was proud. He deserved it. He worked so hard for everything we had. But slowly, the space between us stretched. He'd come home exhausted, barely talk, eat dinner in silence, then fall asleep on the couch. I told myself it was just temporary, just a phase. But that phase kept going. Days turned into weeks. I felt like a ghost in my own home. He wasn't unkind. Just elsewhere. Somewhere I couldn't reach. I didn't blame him. That's what I told myself. But I still felt invisible. I didn't know how to say, "I miss you," without sounding needy. I convinced myself it wasn't that serious. I still loved him. He still loved me. That should have been enough. Then the messages started. Nothing crazy, just banter with someone at work. A new hire. He was funny, quick, knew how to make people laugh in that harmless way. Felt good to be noticed. Not in a dramatic, passionate way. Heard. I didn't even realize how much I craved that until I got it. At first, it was just inside jokes and shared gripes about long meetings. Then he started saying things like, "Your husband must be crazy to not pay attention to you." I laughed it off. I told myself he was joking. But I saved those texts. I'd read them back when I was lying awake next to a man who didn't touch me anymore. I told myself I wasn't doing anything wrong. I wasn't lying. I wasn't sneaking around. But I was already hiding it. The messages turned personal. He asked about my marriage. Answered. Too honestly. I told him I felt alone. I said I missed being wanted. He told me he'd never let someone like me feel that way. Made my heart race. That terrified me and thrilled me. Kept responding. could have stopped. I should have stopped. But I didn't. Every time I saw his name pop up, I felt wanted again. Not just out of habit, not out of routine. Desired. I deleted the app from my phone one night, panicked at where it was heading. But the next morning I downloaded it again. That was the moment I crossed the line, long before we ever touched. The guilt started then. Every smile from my husband felt like a knife. I'd watch him folding my laundry or kissing my forehead, and I'd feel like dirt. But not enough to stop. One night, after a late shift and a few too many drinks, the line finally disappeared. He kissed me first. Let him. I didn't push him away. I leaned in. We didn't talk after. I didn't sleep. I lay in bed next to my husband and cried silently, telling myself it would never happen again. I was wrong. Because the worst part of betrayal isn't the moment it happens. It's realizing how easily you let it. I thought I could live with it. Pretend it was a one-time mistake. I convinced myself it didn't mean anything. But lies don't sit quietly. They rot everything. I started noticing how I avoided his eyes, how I flinched when he touched me. I became too careful, too sweet, too present, overcompensating for the thing I couldn't undo. He noticed. He didn't say anything at first, just watched me differently. Not suspicious, just confused. I could see it in the way his brow furrowed when I kissed him goodnight. Like something didn't add up. He started asking gentle questions. Was everything okay? Did he do something wrong? I'd smile, laugh it off, say I was just tired. I lied with a calm face and a racing heart. But I was slipping. One evening I forgot to delete a message. One stupid message left open on my laptop. He read it. He didn't yell. He didn't accuse me. He just sat across from me and asked one question. How long? I couldn't speak. The silence between us was louder than any screaming could have been. He waited. When I didn't answer, he nodded like he already knew. He stood up and left the room. I didn't chase him. I just sat there, numb, staring at the screen like it could erase what I'd done. He packed a bag that night. No shouting. No begging. Just silence. The kind that swallows you whole. The next few days were a blur. Texted. Called. He didn't respond. I told him I was sorry, that it meant nothing, that I didn't even recognize myself anymore. But nothing landed. I couldn't blame him. I wouldn't have answered either. My friends found out. Some tried to be supportive, most didn't. One of them said, "You had everything. Why would you throw it away?" I didn't have an answer. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. Every sound in the apartment reminded me of him. His favorite mug on the shelf. His cologne still in the bathroom. His side of the bed untouched. I tried to distract myself. Cleaning, working, walking. But the shame followed me like a shadow. I couldn't escape it. I stopped checking my phone because the silence from him was more painful than anything he could have said. I thought he'd come back. That he'd yell, cry, fight for us. But he didn't. He vanished into his own pain, and I was left to sit in mine. The man who once brought me breakfast in bed couldn't even look at me now. And I couldn't blame him. I had taken something pure and set it on fire with my own hands. No excuses. No one else to blame. Just me. Then one day he finally texted. 3 words. We need closure. That's when it sank in. This wasn't a pause. It was an ending. And I had written it.